Hello there, welcome to Bryan Lomax Movie Talk and my latest Blu-ray update. I've been hitting that Poundland recently. I gotta say, picked up some great deals, been in some charity shops, got quite a few here, and yet I've probably not paid more than 40 quid for the whole lot of these, to be honest. I've not totted it up, but I would imagine, yeah. So let's get into it and see what I've been picking up. Most of these came in at £2. I've got one at the end, which was a bit more expensive, but it was an absolute steal, really cracking deal. And we'll get to that last, I think. But yeah, first up, it's the new Daughter. So it's a film with Kevin Costner in, a thriller. I've never seen it before. I like Kevin Costner. You know, if it turns out to be rubbish, then so be it. But for £2, worth a watch, I reckon. Yeah. Next up, Flatliners, the original, not the remake. I wasn't quite as down on the remake as most people, to be perfectly honest. I actually thought it was quite watchable. I definitely think this is the better film. Look at that 80s cast. That's like cream of the 80s crop in it. Keith Sutherland, front and centre. One of Joel Schumacher's better films, I think. I think Joel Schumacher gets ragged on quite a lot, to be honest, mostly because of Batman and Robin. If he didn't have Batman and Robin on his CV, I don't think anybody would criticise him anywhere near the amount that they do. He's done some pretty good films. Dare I say some classics, you know? Think about Lost Boys, think about Falling Down. Thailand is a really good war movie. So, yeah. But Flatliners, pretty solid horror / thriller, and I will be happy to watch it again. Next up, I got two here. I'll hold them both up at the same time because they are the first film and the sequel. Slipcovers included, £2 each. Fantastic Four and Fantastic Four 2, Rise of the Silver Surfer. Not the Citizen Kane of comic book superhero movies, clearly, but you know what? They're a fun ride. They're them kind of movies that if you don't want to think and you just want a bit of noise on in the background that isn't going to scare the kids or whatever, you know, you can stick them on. And I think they're probably a good introduction kind of movie for kids to superhero movies. So yeah, hit them while they're young, I guess. But no, I kind of like them. Like I say, they're probably solid 3-star films. I certainly wouldn't give them any higher than that, but guilty pleasure, I would say. Next up, I got this from a charity shop for £1. £1. And that is the X-Men quadrilogy box set. The first 4 X-Men movies on Blu-ray, I might add, for £1, which, yeah, 25p a film. That is a deal and a half. I love the X-Men movies. There's only a couple really that I would say are definitely bad films. But even X-Men Origins, Wolverine, I kind of quite like, to be honest. I'd actually put that over Apocalypse. The last half of Apocalypse was pretty terrible, to be honest. And I do quite like the last film, Dark Phoenix. So yeah, I'm a fan of the X-Men films. It's definitely got some of the strongest of the bunch there with X-Men 2 and the first film. So yeah, I sense a marathon coming on. Next is a film I haven't seen, but again, charity shop, £2, can't grumble. And it's directed by Alexandra Adja, and it is Horns, starring Daniel Radcliffe. I recently saw Crawl, which was directed by Adja. It's still one of my favourite horror movies of this year. So yeah, you know, I know the guy has had quite a lot of credit within the horror genre. A lot of people rave about his remake of The Hills Have Eyes, which I will be getting to at some point. So yeah, after seeing Crawl, I'm a bit more excited to see what he's got up his sleeve with that one. Next up is a film called Beyond a Reasonable Doubt. Now, I got this for the director, Peter Hyams. Peter Hyams, for me, is one of those directors who he never gets named. You know, when you talk about directors in lists and stuff, he never gets named. But I look at this guy's CV and okay, while he doesn't have any absolute classics on there, he's got movies that, you know, give the average director more than a run for the money, when it comes to making decent movies. I think of Outland, The Relic, which is one of my favourite horror films, End of Days, which is one of my favourite Arnie films, 2010, a sequel to a Stanley Kubrick movie, which is actually pretty damn good. So yeah, the guy knows how to make a film. He's done a couple of Jean-Claude Van Damme films as well, which are actually some of my favourite Van Damme films. I'm not a big fan of Van Damme, it must be said, but the couple of films that Hyams has directed with Van Damme in are some of his better ones. So yeah, I like the guy. I'm not expecting much from this, to be perfectly honest, but it's got Michael Douglas in, so yeah, I'm willing to give it a go. For £2, I'm willing to give it a go. Next up is Jack Ryan. I really like this film. I'm quite gutted, to be honest, that it didn't do too well at the cinema, because I'd have liked a sequel. I thought Chris Pine was really good as Jack Ryan. I thought Kenneth Branagh did a really good job directing. It had a lot of the espionage kind of stuff we expect from a Jack Ryan film. And I just thought it was a really good setup, a really good starter for a new franchise with the character. But unfortunately, yeah, I guess people just not into Ryan like they are with Bond or Bourne or any of them kind of characters. He's a bit more of a cerebral kind of character. He's more likely to use his brain than he is his brawn, although, you know, he's not scared to get into a bit of a dust-up. So, yeah, if the occasion calls for it. But, no, I liked it. It's a shame we're not getting a sequel, but, yeah, there you go. Still a good film in its own right, regardless. Next up, Steelbook edition of Public Enemies. £2, that's right, £2 from Poundland, Steelbook. Public Enemies, great film, Michael Mann film, one of my favourite Michael Mann films. Yeah, I love it. All about John Dillinger. I love the period. I love the whole Tommy gun stuff, the cars, the clothes of that period. Yeah, it's hard to imagine that we're not that far away from that time period. Not that much time has passed since that time period in which there were no cameras. There was no, the policing wasn't the same as it is today. People could go on the run and hide in plain sight almost. It's just, yeah, completely different era, but really not that long ago. I love that period. I think it's great, and I think Michael Mann captures it beautifully. Great performance from Johnny Depp as well. That doesn't require him to dress up in crazy makeup. Next up, again, £2. This is Resident Evil, the final chapter. As we often know, when you call a horror sequel the final chapter, it never is. So far it has been, but yeah, we'll see. I would imagine there'll be a reboot or something at some point soon, but it wasn't great. The editing in it mainly is the thing that killed it, because you couldn't see a thing that was going on. But story-wise and character-wise and all that stuff, it's probably one of the better ones in the franchise. It's just, like I say, that editing really lets it down. Next up is Ridley Scott's take on a biblical story, Exodus. Yes, the story of Moses. Not a good biblical film. Not a good interpretation of the biblical source, it must be said. It turns Moses into someone he wasn't, quite frankly. If you read the text, this was a guy who was fearful of going to Egypt to confront Pharaoh. He didn't even do the talking, quite frankly. He got his brother to do it. Yeah, God is the one who's at the centre of that story, who really rattles Pharaoh's cage, and Moses is just an instrument. This film paints Moses out as some kind of all-action hero who rides into battle and will take on anyone and isn't afraid to speak his mind. Which, again, like I say, if you read the text, that's not there. That's not what's in the text. So, as a biblical movie, as with Darren Aronofsky's Noah, it ain't good. As a fairy tale version of it, that's really not connected. Just an action film, really, I guess, about a character doing some stuff. It's actually pretty decent, if I can come to it in the mindset of not being a Christian, of not being someone who looks at the biblical story as part of my faith. Look at it at an objective level, I guess, a filmmaking level, it's a pretty good film. But yeah, as far as biblical adaptations go, very, very weak. Next up is Shoot 'em Up. Not seen this in quite a while, but yeah, £1 in a charity shop. I thought, you know what, maybe time to give that another watch again. Paul Giamatti, I remember being pretty good in this as a villain. I like Clive Owen. I've said before, he's someone who you can't quite tell if he's actually giving a bad performance or whether or not. I don't know. There's something about his acting style. He's very relaxed. That is, I could understand someone making a case for him not acting well, and yet for some reason there's something about him. There's something about what he does that I find, yeah, pulls me in for whatever reason. But I like the dude. Next up, I just reviewed it recently, and it is Evil Dead. I wish I'd have had this copy before I reviewed it. I watched a DVD copy, but yeah, then I went into Poundland and saw this for £2 and was like, oh, where were you before? But yeah, I liked it enough to say, you know what, for £2 I'm going to have it. I want to own that on Blu-ray. So yeah. Next up is Terminator Salvation. Yeah, there's quite a few films here that I've reviewed recently. Well, 2. It's not really a few, is it? But yeah, so Evil Dead, and I have reviewed the Evil Dead franchise and the Terminator franchise recently. Terminator Salvation. This is the director's cut. That's why I got it. £2 on Blu-ray. I love this film, and every time I watch it, it gets better for me. I think McG does a really good job. I think there are some gaping plot holes, mostly, well, coincidences really, like when you get to the end and you realise who Marcus Wright is and what he's all about, what Skynet have done, then it's kind of a bit weird that the first person he runs into when he gets out of the hole in the ground is Kyle Reese. It's like, oh, what a coincidence. Skynet were hoping you were going to find him or bump into him and, infiltrate without knowing it. Obviously, Marcus Wright doesn't know he's an infiltration unit. He doesn't know what he's been designed to do. But yeah, of all the people he could have bumped into first, I might add, Kyle Reese. There you go. So yeah, that's all the movies. Now time to show you what is just, yeah, like I say, an awesome deal. So I was in HMV recently. I picked something up, present for someone for Christmas. And it was one of them things where if you spend £5, you get this for $11.99 if you want it for $11.99. And that is the entire Breaking Bad TV show on Blu-ray. $11.99. 5 seasons of television. $11.99. It's a beautiful box set. I really like the solid design outside, the box. It's just, like I say, I'm not seeing the show, so really looking forward to catching it on Blu-ray. Again, like I say, I've heard so many good things about it. I can't imagine not liking it. I'm just hoping it's not been hyped up too much. But for that price, blimey, yeah. What a steal. So yeah, there you go. That is what I've been buying recently. Thank you for watching this video. Do let me know what you think about these purchases. Any stinkers, any really great films that I picked up there that you would rate highly. Let me know your thoughts down below. Again, thanks for watching this video, and until next time, cracking.